With finals week right around the corner, we put together a list of some tips to set you on the right path of acing your classes.
A look at the Dakota Collegiate Rocket League tournament held over the weekend at the Union and how NDSU is working to support the rising popularity of esports.
And senior students in the College of Engineering present their capstone projects in the Memorial Union. Good evening and welcome to the Bison Information Network. I'm Malik Mitchell.
And I'm Corey Hartle. We have the latest campus and local news coming up, so you don't want to go away.
With December upon us, that means finals are right around the corner.
Reporter Logan Genterberg put together a list of some tips and tricks to help you cruise to your finals with ease. Let's see what he has for us.
With December underway, many are preparing for a long season of cold weather and snow ahead. But for students here at NDSU, December means that finals are fast approaching. However, there's no need to worry. Just take out a notebook and write down these 5 tips that will help you pass your finals with ease. My first tip is to have a finals game plan. This can be as simple as putting your finals dates into a calendar or your phone, which will help you be better prepared for the work ahead. Second, study in an order of, this will definitely be on the final to, this might be on the final. Prioritizing the more important questions will allow you to be more prepared even if you run out of study time. Third is to give yourself more study time for those tougher classes. We all have that one class that we're struggling with a little more than others. So dedicate more of your effort to make sure you'll be ready to ace that tough class. Fourth, try to form a study group. This can be with your classmates or even friends who will help you study by quizzing you with potential exam questions. Lastly, make sure to get enough sleep and take plenty of study breaks. These breaks can consist of taking a short nap between sessions, going to the gym to get in a good workout and clear your head, or even playing your favorite video game for an hour or two. With all these tips in your back pocket, you'll be more than ready to ace your exam when the professor starts handing them out next week. Reporting for BIN News, I'm Logan Genterberg.
Thanks, Logan. Make sure you use those tips to have a successful finals week. Over the weekend, the NDSU Rocket League Club hosted an esports tournament here on campus.
I was able to stop by the event and find out what went into organizing the 2-day competition. Over the weekend, the NDSU Rocket League Club hosted the Dakota Collegiate Rocket League tournament in the Oshedi-Shikoe Ballroom at the Union. The esports competition featured competitors from colleges across both North and South Dakota.
We've had a great turnout. This is our very first semester ever doing it, so this will be the inaugural event, and it's going to be basically a huge LAN tournament for the top 4 teams for each division competing here for the championship trophy.
The competition is known as a LAN event, which is where all players compete in one location on the same network to keep things fair. And while a variety of video games can be played at these competitions, the NDSU tournament was focused on Rocket League, which is a soccer-like game played with vehicles.
Screen right now, Zajac, it's a nice clear, but Jaden reads it. Is that in? That is in, ladies and gentlemen.
This is a Rocket League LAN only, just because we have the most amount of players for this, and we ended up doing 3 divisions, so this is open to all ranks and all skill levels. And how we did is we had like the lower third will be in a division together, the middle third, and the top third.
With roughly 60 members in the Rocket League Club, the organization is one of the largest ones on campus.
Very welcoming club, a lot of people, like we're all here to support each other, have fun with the game. That's really all it is like that's our main focus, you know. We love the game, so we come together to play it.
For students like Billy, being involved is a great way to stay active on campus and participate in some friendly competition.
Overall, I'm just competitive, and I just enjoy playing the game, and that's really it.
With the popularity of esports on the rise across the country, groups like the Rocket League Club are pushing NDSU to be at the forefront of this trend. And earlier this year, student government and the Memorial Union set aside $500,000 for renovating the esports lab.
We're just hoping to get as many people as possible to experience, you know, this community, which it's very unknown to a lot of them, but we're hoping to kind of just show NDSU that there is such a niche spot for this, but it's going to be growing more and more and more.
Students who are interested in joining the Rocket League Club can do so on My NDSU. From Bison Information Network, I'm Corey Hartle.
The winners of the esports tournament took home a championship trophy and a custom plaque. 24/7 at the library is now back. to support student success. The main library will remain open for 24 hours until December 16th. You can only check out items in reserved study rooms during normal operating hours. Your NDSU ID will be required for access after 8 p.m.
Theater NDSU is performing its play Alabaster once more this weekend. The play takes place on a small farm in Alabaster, Alabama. This is a student-written play and will be showing in Ascanies Hall on Friday and Saturday at 7:30 p.m. The show has a runtime of 2.5 hours.
2023 spring student parking permits go on sale on the 19th. The parking permits are $92.50 and are valid upon purchase through August 15th, 2023. If purchased, permits will be charged to your student account. To purchase a permit, make sure you visit the NDSU parking website. This week, engineering students presented their capstone projects in the Memorial Union. Reporter Adam Toffel has more on the story.
Each year, senior students from the College of Engineering present their senior capstone projects in the Memorial Union Ballroom. The projects represent over a year of work by each student involved and have a wide range of different applications.
Today's expo is basically highlighting all the work that our senior design students have accomplished over the last 2 semesters in mechanical engineering. And so the first semester they have to come up and brainstorm different ideas to solve a problem and narrow down those ideas down to one solution. Once they come up with that solution and identify that as the final one, then in the second semester they actually build it out, they prototype it, optimize it, and make sure that it works the way they intended it to.
The projects are sponsored by different organizations and are a good representation of what engineers might expect on the job.
You know, a lot of our projects are industrial sponsored, and so they're giving us problems that are very realistic to what they're going to be doing once they've completed their degree and they get their first job. And so the type of problem that they're solving in senior design, yes, prepares them for what they're going to see outside.
Throughout the capstone project, students directly apply principles learned in the classes they have already taken.
So the main benefit from our capstone, our senior design process, is that they get to use a lot of the tools that they learned along the way from different classes and actually apply it to solve a real problem.
So the mathematical side, I always thought, math was useless. It's like, why do I need to know all these extraneous equations? But everything builds on top of itself. And you don't see it until you actually have a project in front of you and realize all the mathematical equations you used, all of the problems that you think were just dumb and you're doing them for hours upon hours, everything builds up atop itself.
Although some projects may seem extremely difficult, students learn how to take each problem one step at a time.
At first with the capstone, it might seem like a really daunting process to have to solve this problem, go from point A all the way to point B. But as soon as you start kind of scheduling that out and biting at it, piece by piece, then over that course of 2 semesters, you can see your accomplishment at the end and how what you thought was going to be a really insurmountable task, you can achieve if you break it up, if you have a solid plan to work through the entire 2 semesters.
So any engineering project, there's never a point A to point B. And you notice that even a lot of swearing, a lot of long nights, and a project will never be as easy as they seem. Just putting in the shelving in this thing, took hours upon hours, because you think there's always one right method, but there never is.
So, throughout the process, the students can get frustrated. They can, boy, this isn't working. I've got this barrier, or this part is on order, and it's not coming in. But they seem to always pull it together and get it done. And the culmination is how excited all these different teams are to show off what they've been able to accomplish.
Reporting for the Bison Information Network, I'm Adam Toffel.
If you missed the expo, keep an eye out for the Spring Senior Design Expo happening next semester. On Friday, SAE is hosting the Spike Out Sickness Volleyball Tournament. The competition is a fundraiser for Getty Weinberger, a kindergartner who has spent the last month in the hospital after his right lung collapsed. Members of SAE have set up a GoFundMe page for the family. The event is $5 a person, and all proceeds will go towards supporting Getty.
On Saturday, student government will host Let Your Snow Glow, a celebration of the arts. This year's theme is, what is your recipe? Meaning, what has your family or community done to make you unique? Students will have a chance to win raffles and participate in things like physical art displays and open mic performances. For every one canned food you bring, you'll be entered in a drawing to receive a prize. All goods will be donated to a local charity. This event is from 6 to 8 p.m. in the Memorial Ballroom B.
NDSU history students have produced a 3-part documentary titled The Branches of Battle Lake as a part of a digital history course. This series focuses on the history and early settlers of Battle Lake, Minnesota. Students in the class wrote the script, organized interviews, and gathered images as a part of the project. The documentary is premiering Friday night at the Fargo Theater at 7 p.m. and is free to the public.
Holiday lights at the Red River Valley Fairgrounds will bring out the holiday spirit for all ages to enjoy. The Holiday Lights attraction is known for its Christmas lights display. This event will be filled with lights, animated displays, multiple drive-through tunnels, and much more over 1.5 miles. Today it's open from 5 to 10 p.m.
Yesterday, Governor Doug Burgum proposed the largest budget in North Dakota history. The budget would spend $18.4 billion between 2023 and 2025, which is a 3% increase from the current budget. The recent high oil prices have played a key role in allowing the state to increase its budget. Higher K-12 teacher salaries across the state, major infrastructure projects, and carbon capture incentive programs are all included under the proposed plan.
Rink Rail Skating and a movie will take place 3 times over the next couple of months at Broadway Square. Bring your skates and enjoy some winter-themed movies while skating around the Shields skating rink. Grab-and-go concessions, hand warmers, and cozy Broadway Square merchandise will be available at the Skate Shack. Tonight at 7, they will display cracked ice and the Mighty Ducks.
Looking for something to do this weekend? The MSUM Planetarium is putting on its Season of Light show. The show focuses on holiday traditions and rituals from across the world that take place during the holiday season. Showings are this Saturday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 3 p.m. Tickets are $6 and can be purchased on the MSUM website.
The 2022 Fargo Ice Fishing Show is back with an action arena, many new vendors, and many more for family to enjoy. The North Dakota's largest ice fishing event will have over 100 vendors representing in 2 arenas for all Shields Center arenas. This event will go from December 9th through the 12th. And next on this newscast, I have a chance to sit down with a special staff member from the Bison Information Network. Stay with us. Welcome back. I'm here with Jeff Anders. Jeff, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm the BIN engineering advisor, and I've been involved in BIN since 2009. That's when a coworker of mine at KXJB TV called me and said, Jeff, we need some help, because he was one of the professors out here and teaching some of the broadcast courses. And so I said, sure, I'll come out and take a look. And that was when they were in Menard and had a little odd little space. And then there was actually an upper balcony where they stored equipment. So it was just before we moved into the Bison Block building on 12th Avenue North.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So to kind of start out, take me through like your background, where you're from, where you attended college, and your aspirations.
Well, I'm from Hawley, Minnesota, and it's a nice little town to raise a family, and so that's what I did. My wife and I have 3 children, and now we have 5 grandchildren, and so a lot of what I do is being a grandfather now, and I love being a grandfather. We have 3 of our kids over every Sunday, and sometimes we have all 5, and it's a really good gig being a grandfather, I can tell you that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then so kind of like your early going to college, did you go to college in Minnesota also?
Yeah, I went to Moorhead Area Vocational Technical Institute is what it was called back then. Now it's called Moorhead something, I can't remember what they call it now. But it was Moorhead Area Vocational Technical Institute when I went to school there, and I got an associate's degree in electronics. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my background. And then out of college, I got a job at KXJB TV. Mm-hmm. And I remember that was pretty exciting, and working in television, and it seemed kind of glamorous, and I learned a lot at that job, and did a lot of things, and climbed towers, and we did a lot of high school tournaments, women's or girls basketball, boys basketball, football, hockey, you name it. We traveled all over, and provided the behind the scenes technical assistance that was needed to put those broadcasts together. And I remember it was in 1989, the KX network which was KXJB in Fargo and KXMB in Bismarck and KXMC in Minot. Everybody provided people, and we covered the 100-year anniversary of North Dakota.
So going through experiencing that type of work and being a part of an organization like that, what were sort of your aspirations and dreams, or what did you want to do or take from that to ultimately go into your career?
I guess, at KXJB I learned a lot of things, learned all sorts of stuff about broadcasting. I used to climb towers and put on, we had the tower cams, so I would climb up and with a safety strap. And I put those things together on the towers for KXJB. And I learned how to do satellite uplinks, and I worked with satellite dishes, and we had a remote production truck and a live van. And I remember I ran the live van, which we used to do live shots around the area. And so I did it so much, I knew exactly where to park it and which direction to point the little dish so the signal would make it back to the studio and work well for us. And then in 2001, I took a job at a Christian broadcasting station in Pensacola, Florida. And they wanted to build a new studio, and I was going to go, my plan was to go down there and I was going to design it and put it together. And that was the plan that we all had. And it turns out they didn't have the money to do it. And so I decided, well, I'm not going to stick around there if they're not going to build a new studio. Who knows how long it would have taken. And so I came back and actually came back to the same job I had at KXJB because they hadn't filled my spot. And so they hired me back again, and nobody had done all the work that had piled up either. So I had all sorts of cameras and videotape machines and equipment to fix. And so I felt needed because I was needed to do that. So a lot of my job at the station was fixing equipment. I worked on equipment a lot and did a lot of repairs on stuff, and it prepared me well for the job I have here with Ben and at NDSU, because we're doing a lot of the same things on a smaller scale, but it's still fun, it's still exciting. I like working with you and the other BIN members. It's fun to do some teaching of how to use the equipment, cameras and mics and lights and all that stuff, and so I enjoy doing that. And so it's kind of in a groove now. If you're at a job for a while, you kind of settle in and you know how to do everything. And I guess that's kind of the way I feel. I know my job pretty good now. So.
Just to come to a close, what would you tell any students out there that's interested in, broadcast journalism itself? Tell them about the Bison Information Network and what can we offer them?
Well, there's a lot of opportunities here to learn and to get some good experience in broadcasting, and not just in broadcasting, but how to use video cameras and lights and microphones and tripods. And then to capture video and do interviews, and then to edit it all together so you have a finished product to use on the Bison Information Network newscast, or the Bison Overtime show, or any other show that might be produced here. And so there's opportunities for students to learn all those things and to get experience. We've had students that have worked for the FM Red Hawks, for the Fargo Force hockey team. They've worked with ESPN when ESPN came to town to cover Bison football playoff games, and so they've got that on their resume, which is a nice thing to have on your resume. And if students wanted to produce a show, they could pitch it to you and the rest of the BN team. And if we can figure out all the logistics, as far as staffing it and, producing it, students can do their own show every week if they want. We've had movie review shows, we've had fashion shows. We could have a political show. There's all sorts of possibilities. You know, whatever people can dream up. So, lots of possibilities.
Yep. All right, Jeff, thank you for coming on. It was great to talk to you.
Yeah.
Next on the Bison Information Network, we'll have Jacob Morgan for the Bison Sports Report when we come back.
Welcome back to the Bison Information Network. I'm Jacob Morgan with your weekly sports report. The Bison football team kicked off their FCS playoff this past weekend after a week of rest. The Bison were more than prepared to play after jumping out to a 14-0 lead within the first 8 minutes of the game. However, the Grizzlies would respond fairly quickly with 10 unanswered points. That was stopped when Cole Wisniewski would take a fumble to the house for the Bison on the goal line. After the defensive score, the Bison would continue to pour on the rushing yards. The team finished with 4 rushing touchdowns of 68 yards or more. The Grizz had no answer for the Thundering Herd as they would cruise their way to the quarterfinal. Cam Miller was getting it done with his legs all afternoon. He would rush 8 times for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tamarick Williams would add some mileage to the engine as well. He would finish the game with 11 carries, 101 yards, and a touchdown. Kobe Johnson put up some serious video game numbers, finishing with 12 carries and a whopping 206 yards, accompanied by 2 touchdowns as well. The Bison would go on to win by a score of 49-26. Your Bison will be back in the Dome this weekend as they take on the 6th-ranked Bulldogs of Samford. The game has been flexed to Friday night at 6 o'clock. If you can't make the game, be sure to watch on ESPN2 or listen on the Bison Radio Network. The NDSU women's basketball team has been off to a hot start this season, starting 6-0. The Bison would have their most games in a short stretch this season. They played 3 games in the course of 6 days, starting with last Thursday against Eastern Michigan. Elle Evans would finish with 14 points, 7 rebounds, and 1 assist. Emily Benke had 10 points, 5 rebounds, and dished out an assist as well. Ultimately, the Bison would fall to the Eagles 73-55. There was no time for the rest as the Bison would turn around 2 days later and play at Central Michigan, battling in a close one. Elle Evans was doing it all once again with 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists as well. Benke had herself a nice little double-double, finishing with 15 points and 10 rebounds, partnered with a steal. The Bison couldn't complete the comeback and would lose 66-65 to the Chippewas. The Bison would once again hit the road and travel to Cedar Falls, Iowa to take on the UNI Panthers. Benke had her name called once again for the 2nd straight double-double. She finished with 16 points and 10 boards. Heaven Hamling finished with 14 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. The Bison would drop their 3rd straight game, losing to the Panthers with a score of 79-70. The women will look to get right back on track this weekend at Green Bay. They will play Saturday at noon. You can catch the game on ESPN3 or listen to 94.5 FM. The men's basketball team took a trip to the Northwest Coast this past week, where they had 2 games. First game would be at Eastern Washington University. Junior Bowden Skunberg would finish the game with 11 points, 4 rebounds, and dished out 4 assists as well. Tajavis Miller led the way in scoring with 13 points and boasted 4 rebounds and assists with those points. The Bison weren't able to hold off the Eagles as they lost 78-70. They would head south 2 days later and play at Portland. The Bison came into this game as 15-point underdogs. Bowden would lead the way for the Bison with a huge double-double. He had 20 points and 10 rebounds with a pair of dimes. Tajavis finished with 17 points, 2 boards, and an assist of his own. The Bison would rout the Pilots 67-62. They look to keep themselves in the win column this weekend. They will host 2 games this weekend. Saturday they will face the Montana Grizz at 7 p.m. and Sunday they will host Waldorf at 5 p.m. Games will be available on WDAY Extra or ESPN+. The volleyball team wrapped up their season at the NIVC tournament. They played against Davidson last Friday. Kelly Johnson had a great game, setting up 48 assists and 12 digs. Cyber Tanchin finished with 15 kills, 3 blocks, and an ace. The Bison would take it to 5 sets, but ultimately would lose 2-3. The Bison finished with a 21-12 record on the season. That wraps up our sports report this weekend. Now we head over to weather with Dash. What's the next week looking like, Dash?
Well, we're going to start off with today's forecast, as right now current condition is mostly clear with a temperature of 15 degrees Fahrenheit. It is feeling like 5 degrees outside right now. Humidity is at 84%, and the winds are coming out of the southwest at 6 miles per hour. As we look into the hour-by-hour forecast heading into the overnight hours, at 7 p.m. it will be mostly clear at 13 degrees, but the clouds will start to come in at around 9 p.m. as the temperature falls to 8 degrees. At 11 p.m. there will be scattered clouds at 9 degrees, and then it'll be 11 degrees all the way through the morning hours, but it'll be mostly cloudy as we head into tomorrow morning. As for the skycast tonight, sunrise will be at almost 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, but the sunset tomorrow night will be at 4:38 p.m., giving us 8 hours and 39 minutes of sunlight tomorrow. As for the moon phase at the moment, it is currently on waning gibbous phase, and on December 16th we will have our next major phase with the third quarter moon. As for today's almanac, today's high was 20 degrees with a low of 5 degrees. Average temperatures at 30 degrees and a low of 13, so a little lower than average at the moment. Record temperatures for today, a high of 57 back in 1962, and the record low of negative 12 degrees, which was all the way back in 1896. As for the current conditions all across the country right now, currently North Dakota seems like the coldest average state with 16 degrees in Fargo and 14 degrees in Bismarck. And it is cold pretty much all the way up until you reach Missouri. Down south from Texas to Florida, got highs in the high 70s and low 80s even in Texas. So really warm down there right now if you want some warm weather. As for the rain and snow forecast for the next 48 hours, a lot of snow up in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and northern Iowa, and then also over in the northwest portion of the country in Idaho, Washington, and Oregon, with a lot of snow and ice over in those states. And then meanwhile, from Illinois all the way down to the North and South Carolina region, there is also a lot of rain coming in the next 48 hours as well. As for the 7-day forecast, for the weekend forecast, tomorrow will be 28 degrees for the high, 10 degrees for the low if you're heading out to the Fargo Dome. Decent weather for tailgating. Saturday will be 31 degrees and cloudy, while Sunday will be 32 degrees and mostly cloudy. As we head into next week, Monday will be 33 degrees and cloudy, but as we head into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, there will be looking like some snow for those 3 days. So we haven't gotten a lot of snow yet this year, but it seems like those next 3 days could offer us quite a few inches of snow. Well, that's all for my 7-day forecast. Back to you at the desk, Jacob.
Well, thank you for the update, Dash. That concludes the last newscast for the year. Thank you all for tuning in and have a good night. We will see you in 2023.